swept Argentina 1-0 in New Jersey on a goal in the 106th minute. Ryan Fox won the British Open by one stroke. NASCAR victory for Joey Logano.
Live from the heart of SEC country, this is your daily fix of grit, guts, and gridiron glory. Welcome to the Deep South College Football Show.
Bowen, here he goes! Georgia retakes the lead!
Breaking down the biggest matchups, the boldest takes, and the deepest rivalries in college football on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC.
Intercepted! They confused him! Xavier Brown headed the other way! Touchdown Tide!
From Fayetteville to Gainesville, from the Grove to Toomer's Corner, it's SEC football.
Delivers touchdown!
Now, here's your award-winning host, Wyatt Fulton.
Welcome into another edition of the Deep South College Football Show right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. We're also hanging out on the Deep South College Football Show YouTube page. We are live in Tampa, Florida for SEC Media Days, and alongside me, I got Whitman Clark hanging out with us down here in beautiful Tampa, Florida. Whitman, how you doing, brother?
Hard not to be good on a day like this, Wyatt. This is the Super Bowl of media life for guys like us. It's been a phenomenal start to Media Day. We've heard from some good coaches. Eli Drinkwitz came up and spoke this morning. Brett Venables kicked things off after Greg Sankey. Heard a lot from a lot of really good coaches, really good players, really cool people walking around the hallways here on Radio Row. I'm excited to get the rest of the week underway.
You and me both, man. It's going to be a really exciting week down here in Tampa, Florida. We also got Chase Brumfield hanging out back at the Tide 100.9 studios. Chase, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We're good. So, yes, Brent Venables kicked things off from the coaching perspective here earlier today. However, let's start with the actual start of the day. Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, came up and gave what was effectively a State of the Union type of address here with the Southeastern Conference here. And he mentioned a lot of different things here, but the one thing I want to key in on is this 9-game conference schedule that a lot of people have seemed to have been talking about here today here in Tampa, Florida on day one of SEC Media Days here. Greg Sankey mentioned that the 9-game conference schedule here is, yes, they understand that a lot of people don't like it. However, this is a direct quote from Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC. Quote, "We and I recognize that the 9-game SEC football schedule, coupled with our expectation that we maintain a high-quality non-conference opponent, creates one of the most, in fact, I'm going to scratch what I wrote. It creates, without question, the most demanding sets of football schedules in all of college football. These decisions were made after years of thoughtful discussion, careful analysis, and spirited debate, which led us to the conclusion that the 9-game schedule was appropriate. The 9-game schedule reflects confidence in our universities, student athletes, and in our football programs, preserving great rivalries, historic rivalries, many of which are played every single year. It creates more compelling conference matchups and reinforces our long-standing commitment to competitive excellence. When you look at our schedule, no one has created the kind of weekly competition that exists in the Southeastern Conference. It's competition that our fans will experience every week because we believe we are the best conference in college football." Now, all that being said, the expansion to 9 games, Whitman, I feel like may have been one of the dumbest things the SEC has done.
It was a bit of an overreach, it feels like to me, and that seemed to be a bit of the sentiment throughout the conference when it was announced. I believe I recall a lot of people saying what happened was the SEC was promised, or the coaches were promised, that we would see playoff expansion if the extra conference game fell into their lap or they had to deal with it. And the coaches were all right with the extra conference game as long as it meant expanded playoffs, because you're going to see good teams that would normally finish at 10-2, 11-1, finish at 9-3 and 10-2. And these teams felt that they would still receive equal treatment when it came time to decide who gets into the playoffs. The playoffs were not expanded, so I think a lot of the coaches, sort of headlined by Eli Drinkwitz, feel like maybe they got shafted a little bit by the SEC, by Greg Sankey, but we won't know any of that until football kicks off and really until the end of the season in late November.
Hey, Missouri head coach Eli Drinkwitz had mentioned it a little bit today here as well, saying that SEC coaches have already started to regret the move to 9 conference games here, spearheaded, ironically, by Lane Kiffin. It feels like Lane Kiffin has kind of been, and Eli Drinkwitz have been kind of the key contributors, the key guys that are pushing for this and saying, hey, yeah, 9 conference games. What in the hell are we doing? Why are we playing a 9th conference game?
And I think a lot of what these coaches and maybe even the players that are mad about, a lot of what people are mad about, it's not that the SEC moved to 9 conference games, and it's not that the SEC is requiring teams play a Power 4 non-conference game or Notre Dame. It's the fact that they're requiring both. I think if we had gone in the direction of just a 9-game conference schedule where you're still allowed your 3 cupcakes unless you're South Carolina and you play Clemson, or unless you're Georgia and you play Georgia Tech, that would have been one thing. Or if the SEC said, okay, you've got to go play that Power 4 non-conference opponent or Notre Dame, people would have been okay with that because you still have the 8-game SEC grind, but it's not as hard to manage as a full 9-game conference schedule. But the fact that it's compounded, you're going to see teams play now 10 P4 games before you even think about a bowl game, before you even think about the SEC championship game. I mean, you think, let's say Georgia goes and makes the SEC championship game this year, they're going to play 10 P4 games in the regular season plus an 11th in the conference championship. Assuming they make the conference championship, they will make the college football playoffs. That's 11 Power 4 football games before the first playoff game is even practiced.
Yeah, it feels like, to me, it does feel like the SEC's been getting played here in this situation. Now, on the flip side of this, Greg Sankey's absolutely right in the fact that you're going to get more compelling matchups. You're going to get more entertaining football games because, yes, you're playing 9 conference games here in the SEC. So now we get that extra conference game, right? Now we get to see, all right, Alabama gets to go play, Texas A&M this season, right? In addition to playing LSU, Mississippi State, Auburn, and Tennessee, right? So it creates more compelling matchups, and they've got the game against Georgia here. But at the same time, it is, I do see where the coaches are coming from. And Greg Sankey said he is unapologetically of the belief that individuals who are competitive individuals want to go compete at a high level, which I understand. I completely get here. But even still, you're playing 10 Power 4 games. God forbid you've got a home-and-home schedule with somebody, and you've got an out-of-conference rivalry game, a la South Carolina, a la Georgia, who's currently got a game against Florida State up in the air right now. So looking at it here, I mean, a team like Georgia, they're going to play, 11 Power 4 games prior to even the SEC championship game. And then you play the SEC championship, and now you've played 12. And if you're not a top 4 seed, then you don't get a bye. And therefore, you now have to go play another 4 or 5, or you've got to go play another, 4 first-round, quarterfinal, semifinal, national championship. Yeah, you got to go play another 4 Power 4 football games to have even a chance at winning a national championship.
And I agree with what you said about Commissioner Sankey. I think that coaches, players, ADs, top to bottom, the SEC should want to go compete with the best. The SEC should want to play within, their own conference. They should want to play the best football imaginable. However, I feel like they were already doing that in a sense. You already had marquee matchups week in and week out in the SEC. I mean, there's a reason that despite the Big Ten pushing out the last 3 national championships, there's a reason that every Saturday, millions and millions and millions of fans tune into ABC to watch 3 SEC football games back to back to back because they always deliver. I don't know if we needed that 9th conference game to reiterate how good the SEC is. In a perfect world, in my opinion, I think we should have gone to the mandatory P4 non-con game. I thought that was a great idea because I do think I am under the belief that good teams should play other good teams and they should not wait until December and January to do so. However, I think that would have been balanced a whole lot better with an 8-game conference schedule because you look at, obviously everybody right now is comparing the SEC and the Big Ten. Even the Big Ten, they get their tune-up games. They get their cupcakes. I mean, nobody batted an eye about Ohio State playing Grambling State last year. Nobody's complaining about it. But when Alabama plays Western Kentucky in Week 1, all of a sudden, folks in Columbus, Ohio would have you think that we went and found Central High School to come over to Bryant-Denny Stadium to play a football game.
We won't only talk about this here today on the program, as we've got a just absolutely loaded day of loaded week of SEC Media Days content coming your way here from Tampa, Florida, presented to you by the great people over at Taco Casa. Whitman, we have heard so far today from Missouri and Eli Drinkwitz. By the way, big update on running back Ahmad Hardy out of Missouri. He's been medically cleared from his gunshot wound that he suffered. Now it is dependent on how quickly he and his body can recover in order for him to return to action here. We listened a little bit to Eli Drinkwitz there because we knew immediately off the top of his interview he was going to mention something about Ahmad Hardy, and he said about 5 to 8 weeks we think Ahmad Hardy could be back.
That's what it sounded like. I walked in as he was uttering that 5 to 8 week sentence, so I didn't catch the front part of it. I don't know if that's starting right now. I don't know if that's 5 to 8 weeks from kickoff. Of course, that ends up making a big difference, is that month between now and kickoff for the SEC could do a great deal of good in speeding Ahmad Hardy through that process. But he was very, very adamant that we will see him during this football season. He mentioned during his press conference up there, he talked about, the most gratifying thing about being a coach is still seeing these players, realize their dreams, overcome hardships, go through adversity, and come out on the other side. And he mentioned that what would be fulfilling for him is when Ahmad Hardy goes from the hospital bed to the end zone in his first game back as a Missouri Tiger. So Eli Drinkwitz obviously sounds extremely confident that Ahmad Hardy will return not that late into the season.
It's a little more than 6 weeks away.
What's that?
Week 1 of the college football season here. So if we are talking, 5 to 8 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks, could be seeing a little bit of Ahmad Hardy action here in Columbia, Missouri for the Missouri Tigers and head coach Eli Drinkwitz here. We'll talk a little bit about the Oklahoma Sooners as well, because Brent Venables was the first one to take it's not a podium, I think it's a lectern is what it's technically called.
Looked to me like they were up in the pulpit. Brett Venables was up there screaming like a Baptist preacher.
Hey, it just means more in the SEC. We compare SEC football to church around here. But regardless here, we will talk a little bit about what Oklahoma and head coach Brent Venables had to say here today. Quarterback John Mateer spoke for about 20 minutes in a breakout session.
He went a while,
and it's no secret how big of a John Mateer fan I am. I think I'm an even bigger John Mateer fan after that little 20-minute breakout session here. Whitman and I both stood there and listened to everything that the Little Elm, Texas native had to say about himself, his struggles last season, the offensive line, the run game, the receivers, every single thing. John Mateer probably had a comment on it here in Tampa, Florida. So we'll go ahead and take our first time out here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC live from Tampa, Florida for SEC Media Days. We'll be right back after this timeout. We are live down here in Tampa, Florida for SEC Media Days 2026, presented to you by Pearl River Resort and the Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. Tune in all week on Tide 100.9 for press conferences, updates, and interviews from all 16 teams across the Southeastern Conference as we get you ready for the 2026
quality to our customers. So we just look at it as, hey, basically, we're your kitchen. You're just coming to eat in your kitchen. Taco Casa, under the biggest cactus in town.
What does it mean to advertise and do your marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa? Melissa started her business in 2014. What would you say to someone considering Town Square Media Tuscaloosa?
My experience with Town Square Media has been awesome, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I think that this is the first time in my marketing experience that I've been able to see my return on investment. I would definitely say in the past that has not been the case. In this, I like knowing that that's 100%. A lot of the marketing we've done has been radio. You guys have so much more to offer than that, whether it's, websites, from targeted marketing to radio. You are kind of a one-stop shop, and it makes doing marketing so much easier. So I would definitely recommend it.
For more info on marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa, call 205-345-7200 or click on Advertise with Us on our website.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Here's your Tuscaloosa and West Alabama forecast. We're going to stay dangerously hot here through midweek. Not much in the way of any effects from Bertha. All that moisture will stay down closer to the Gulf Coast. forecast. Sunny, hot here today, 96. Heat index values around 107. A slight chance of storms this afternoon and this evening. Partly cloudy, muggy tonight, 76. Oppressive heat, no relief tomorrow. Sunshine, 97 both Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm meteorologist Richard DeWetting for Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
It's 94 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
For more from Tide 100.9,
Lets it fly and clears it. Whoa!
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and SoundCloud.
There we go. Might help if I hit the button. Welcome back into the Deep South College Football Show on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide coverage. We are live from SEC Media Days. Crimson Tide coverage. No, Crimson Tide Sports. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place today here with SEC Media Days.
Wyatt. It's a big day.
Look, man, I've heard 4 different speeches from 4 different head coaches. I've been listening to interviews from quarterbacks, running backs, offensive linemen, linebackers, Taylor Wine, who apparently looks a little smaller than I expected a defensive end to.
Yeah. Not a small guy by any means.
No.
Not what you would
But when I think Division I defensive end, I don't know that that's necessarily what I would pick up on.
The numbers do not match the size, however. I heard somewhere 7.5 sacks last year. A major contributor. There's a reason he's in Tampa right now. Just caught us a little off guard. I told Wyatt, I said, I could have sworn he was a linebacker by his size, but no, he's coming off the end. He's going to be facing those big left and right tackles all year long.
That 7.5 tackles for loss number you heard was from Brent Venables during his opening statement here during SEC Media Days here. He had a lot of things to say. He said this past offseason he had neck surgery, and so he was running around still hiking, still doing everything that Brent Venable does, but he was doing it in a neck brace, and the track record of SEC head coaches in neck braces is not the best. So here's to hoping that Brent Venables is a little bit better than what Bobby Petrino was.
We need to keep him on 2 feet.
Not 2 wheels.
Don't let him go anywhere near 2 wheels.
Not 2 wheels, 2 feet.
That's when it starts to get tricky.
Yeah, that's when things start to get a little awkward there. But no, Brent Venables in Oklahoma. Last season, Whitman, if you recall, last year in the SEC, it was not a big love fest for the Sooners here at SEC Media Days. You were not with us at the time, but I remember last year as well. It was not the biggest love affair for Oklahoma in Atlanta last season, coming fresh off a 6-6 season, first time with John Mateer at the helm this past season, and now year number 2, they went 10-2, lost to Alabama in the college football playoff, so 10-3 overall. Big bounce or big step forward from a 6-6 year the year prior, but now Oklahoma's not sneaking up on anybody. That was I think I heard that sentence more than anything else I heard out of Brent Venables' mouth earlier today. Oklahoma's not sneaking up on anybody. We're not sneaking up on anybody. You don't sneak up on anybody in the SEC. If I hear sneak up on somebody one more time, I might throw my headset across the table here. So Oklahoma's not sneaking up on anybody this season. We know exactly what we expect the Sooners to be in 2026.
It does not sound like it. I mean, we already know we're going to expect one of the best defenses in the conference, if not the country. We're going to expect a guy that was the odds-on Heisman favorite to win the Heisman Trophy before his thumb went backwards. We are looking at a team with really talented receivers. We are looking at a head coach with national championship experience at the highest level of college football as a defensive coordinator for the Clemson Tigers, now turned head coach. There's championship pedigree up and down this roster in Norman, Oklahoma. It's just going to be, can they put it together? Can they win some of the close games that didn't quite go their way? Can they get over the Texas hump? And then if they get back into the playoffs, can they go further than just hosting a playoff game?
And that is going to be one of the big questions here this season for Oklahoma. Another big question for the Sooners here is going to be that offensive line here. This offensive line last season, John Mateer said it in his little breakout interview that we did where you and I both stood there for the entire 20 minutes and watched him speak, and he put a lot of those struggles on himself, said that it was really and truly his fault that the offensive line and the run game did not succeed at the level that maybe Sooner fans are used to seeing an offensive line and a run game achieve in Norman.
He did. I was very proud, I guess maybe a bit of a strong word, but I was very happy to hear what I heard from John Mateer. Obviously, when you're the face of a franchise, the face of a program, you are taught that you take no credit but you take all the blame.
Yeah, give all the credit, take all the blame. That's what you're supposed to do as a quarterback.
And that is exactly what John Mateer did. He straight up said it. He said, I have no regrets in playing in the Texas game, despite the hurt hand. I would do it 100 times over, but I take full responsibility for losing that football game. He took responsibility for just about everything that went bad on offense last year, despite
offense, defense, run game, pass game,
pretty much all of
turnovers.
Despite pretty much all of us knowing that a lot of those struggles did not fall on the shoulders of Mateer. However, after our 20-minute session with him in the corner of the big ballroom right across from us, it is evident I don't think the Sooners could have picked a better guy a couple of seasons ago when it came to finding who's going to lead their program through the next couple of seasons. I think John Mateer goes about everything the right way. He says all the right things, and right now it's just a matter of doing all of the right things come time for September kickoff.
You used to spending about 20 minutes in the corner?
Growing up,
you got putting time out a lot as a kid?
I talked a lot during class.
I did the same thing.
It was always on my report card, talks too much, but the teachers always said that it came from a place of love.
It does. We see it a lot here on Side 100.9 here. But no, looking at Oklahoma's schedule here, I had asked John Mateer this question here. Last season, right, Oklahoma, they lose the game to Texas early in the season, and then they suffer another loss here last season in 2025. So their back is against the wall pretty much the entire season at that point. Like they lose early to Texas, then they turn around a couple of weeks later, lose to Ole Miss with matchups against Alabama, Tennessee, LSU, not necessarily in that order, still left on the schedule there. A lot of people started to count out Oklahoma when they lost that Ole Miss game, and yet you roll into Knoxville, Tennessee as an underdog and win. You roll into Bryant-Denny Stadium as an underdog and win. You roll in against LSU, who we know can flip that switch and immediately become a problem, and win that game against the Bayou Bengals and end up hosting a college football playoff game. Whitman, Oklahoma's got two big road games early this season within the first month of the season. UTEP, New Mexico at home. Yes, okay, whatever, not great games. September the 12th, you go to the Big House. You face Michigan in Ann Arbor at high noon on Big Noon kickoff. Saturday, September the 26th, you go to Georgia. I'm almost guaranteeing that to be a night game at this point. The kickoff time is not yet determined, but I don't imagine there's another Week 4 SEC game that is going to take precedence over the fact that you get Oklahoma and Georgia, two playoff teams. One of them's won the SEC the last two seasons. The last time they played was in the Rose Bowl in California, and it was maybe one of the best football games we've ever watched.
I don't think maybe seems like an understatement to me. That game is something that those players and those players' kids and those players' grandkids will talk about for the rest of time. But I do agree. I think Oklahoma's biggest goal this year, and I want to hit on one of the questions that I asked Mateer. I asked him about the difference between playing in the Apple Cup at Washington State, which is the in-state rivalry of the Cougars versus the Washington Huskies, versus the difference between the Red River Shootout, Oklahoma versus Texas. He kept it kind of short, kind of sweet, but what stuck out to me was he reiterated the same thing that we all talk about in this conference. That game meant a little more, and I think one of Oklahoma's primary goals this year needs to be to beat Texas. That's one of those games. It's like the Iron Bowl. It's like the game. 1 year, anything can happen. Texas can win any given year. Oklahoma can win any given year. 2 years in a row, okay, that's starting to become interesting. If Texas wins 3 straight games in the Cotton Bowl in early October, it's going to start to turn into a bit of a Ryan Day at Ohio State situation where we don't really care what you do. Like, if you don't win a national championship to counteract losing to Texas, we're going to have to start having some conversations. I think John Mateer and Brett Venables certainly need to go win Red River this year to flip the script, get the momentum rolling back in their favor, and set themselves up for a late season playoff push, because you're exactly right. These 2 road games are going to test this Sooner team very early. I expect them to escape Michigan with a victory. I believe this defense has what it takes to put just too much pressure on true sophomore Bryce Underwood. However, if I had to bet on it today, they will likely leave Athens, Georgia with a loss. That is going to leave them needing to play almost perfect football for 2 months if they want a chance to make the playoff. And I'm looking at it now. I see trips to the Swamp. That's not easy. I see trips to Mississippi State. We saw their rival Texas struggle against Mississippi State. I see a home game against both Ole Miss and Texas A&M in back-to-back weeks.
A home game against Ole Miss that you lost last season, by the way.
Correct. So it's no easy test. Same quarterback. by the way. Same running back. The same guys that beat you last year are going to come into your house again. So if you can't beat Texas, you're asking 20 and 21-year-olds to play perfect football from October 17th all the way to November 28th. That is a tall task. I believe their season truly begins in Ann Arbor on September 12th, but it will really get started, like you said, September 26th in Athens, Georgia, when they go to visit the Georgia Bulldogs.
Feel confident in your predictions?
I do.
Want to put a little money on that?
You betting Oklahoma?
Might bet a little bit on the Sooners, and I'm going to go over to Pearl River Resort and let them know, hey, I need John Mateer Heisman money. I need Oklahoma over, I think their win total is 8.5 this season. I need Oklahoma over 8.5 here with the Sooners this season here.
Well, let's go ahead and christen this Georgia game with a little handshake. How's $5 sound?
I'll buy you a beer.
Deal.
I'll buy you a beer if we get that one. If we get that one wrong.
Of age, by the way.
Yes, both of us.
This young-looking face.
I'll buy you a beer here in the event that it happens there in Athens, Georgia. But Pearl River Resort, they're helping us out here, sending us to Tampa, Florida for SEC Media Days. We greatly appreciate them for helping us get here to Tampa, Florida, to bring you plenty of coverage of the Southeastern Conference. We are 4 teams in now? No, we still have not yet heard from Mr. Heupel and Tennessee Volunteers. We are 3 teams out of the 16 that we will hear from this week here. Mr. Heupel begins
1:55 Central Time.
1:55 Central Time, which we are on the Eastern Time Zone, so I'm all thrown off here right now. I feel like I should be done with the show for about the last half hour here, but we're taking our halftime break right here on the Deep South College.
Powered by Tuscaloosa Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram. Find adventure, power, and performance today at Tuscaloosa Jeep Dodge Ram.
Hey, this is Wyatt Fulton from Tide 100.9. We are live at SEC Media Days down here in Tampa, Florida, getting you ready for the 2026 college football season with press conferences, interviews, and live updates from all 16 teams in the Southeastern Conference. Our coverage of SEC Media Days live from
Remember M for money and Mezrano.
If it has a logo on it, call me. 205-800-8000.
What does it mean to advertise and do your marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa? Melissa started her business in 2014. What would you say to someone considering Town Square Media Tuscaloosa?
My experience with Town Square Media has been awesome, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I think that this is the first time in my marketing experience that I've been able to see my return on investment. I would definitely say in the past that has not been the case. In this, I like knowing that that's 100%. A lot of the marketing we've done has been radio. You guys have so much more to offer than that, whether it's, websites, from targeted marketing to radio. You are kind of a one-stop shop, and it makes doing marketing so much easier. So I would definitely recommend it.
For more,
stop by on Skyland Boulevard. Mercedes-Benz of Tuscaloosa. For those who know the difference. Mercedes-of-Tuscaloosa.com. Mercedes-of-Tuscaloosa.com.
Follow Tide 100.9 on Facebook today to watch our live shows, read the great articles, and interact with Bama fans today.
Welcome back into the Deep South College Football Show right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. It's beautiful down here in Tampa, Whitman. It was a little bit rough trying to get down here with, the rain and Central Florida and weather, and because that's always fun. But outside of the last 20 minutes where it did just start raining behind us here on Digital Drive, it's been a pretty beautiful start to the week here in Tampa.
It was. The walk from the parking deck over to the Marriott where we currently are, it was beautiful. Nice little breeze. Call it, 78, 80 degrees this morning.
Nice and crisp, and it felt like I was walking through a wet paper towel with the amount of humidity.
I didn't feel that humid, though, but you're also a little more layered up than I am. Tomorrow,
I was going to say, you're in a polo shirt and shorts.
Tomorrow,
I'm in pants and a quarter zip.
This place knows how to use air conditioning, and they don't run low.
No.
There's AC pumping through here steadily and heavily.
Apparently, now this is a rumor that I'm starting, but apparently they spent all the budget on making sure the AC was going to work and none of the budget to make sure the internet was going to work around here, because every beat reporter that I've talked to this week, it's Monday. Today.
This morning.
In the last 40 minutes or so, every beat reporter that I've talked to has said This internet is god-awful. I've been running off my phone's hotspot all day.
And that is what we're currently doing, isn't it?
Yeah, that is currently what we are doing. I've got the laptop, the iPad, the tablet that is not any company, and my cell phone, all running off of my own cell phone's signal strength here. So
I hope you've got unlimited data.
Let's hope I don't burn through all my data here in the next couple of days here. But it does seem like here at the SEC, Whitman, one of the biggest topics has been this 9-game conference schedule here, and how the SEC kind of feels like they got shafted a little bit by not only the Big Ten, but the NCAA as well. And there were a couple of other things that Greg Sankey had mentioned. I thought it was notable what he had talked about, and I don't know if you caught this part here yet, but it was notable what he talked about with the 5-for-5 ruling, and with the fact that there's been so many lawsuits. Do we just think about grandfathering in those guys, the guys who played 4 years and are out of eligibility? Do we just grandfather them in and say, yep, you've got an extra year in 2026?
Well, common sense would lead me to believe the answer probably should be yes off the top of my head. I mean, we've already had 6th year, 7th year, 8th year guys in the sport.
Yeah.
Kind of taking a lot of the headlines over the last couple seasons. So what's one or two more before we finally get all these wrinkles ironed out? If we see one more 6-year guy on the field this year or next year in order to crisply get through this ruling, I am more than okay with that. However, I obviously would like the situation to be settled as quickly, as smoothly as possible, hopefully with no lawsuits. But it's college athletics in 2026, my man. You're going to get a lawsuit somewhere.
I was going to say, lawsuits are the only thing we do consistently around here.
Lawsuits, injunctions, restraining orders. I mean, you would think that the SEC office in Birmingham is highlighting or moonlighting as a set for Jerry Springer.
The office of Sankey and Dunlap.
Sankey and Friends.
Sankey and Friends here. Sankey and Friends attorneys at law.
Ooh.
That's
You're going to jail.
Yeah.
You show up and you hear, hi, I'm your lawyer.
Yeah.
I'm your lawyer, Greg Sankey. Officer.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah. All right. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to be taken to jail here. But no, so no Josh Heupel yet. So kind of rolling through our list of teams that we've heard from here today. We've talked about Oklahoma. We've talked about Missouri here. Kentucky. Kentucky is a team that I don't think a lot of people expect a lot of big stuff out of here, as Will Stein has officially wrapped up, I want to say.
Yes, as of 2 o'clock, when we went on the air, he left the pulpit.
According to our handy dandy little media packet here provided by the Southeastern Conference. Thanks, guys. Will Stein is wrapped up here, and it was right as we were getting ready to go on the air, so I didn't get to hear a ton of what he had to say, but there were some things that I did enjoy getting to see that Will Stein had said here. Most notably, he was asked the question, hey, what's the reason Kentucky's going to win under you? How are you going to go out and you're going to go win big ball games here at Kentucky? A program that historically has not had to play big football games because they've not been good enough to consider it a big football game. But big-time opponents, Alabama this season, Texas A&M this season. If the internet would do anything worth helping here, I could tell you who else was on this schedule in terms of a big-name opponent here. Whitman may have to go look that up for me here.
I will have that for us in just a moment.
Alabama, or hosting Alabama this season, going to Texas A&M, going to Oklahoma, going to Tennessee. By the way, you've got a date with Missouri and Florida at the tail end of the regular season here.
Cocktober kicks off in Columbia against the Wildcats. Mr. Stein, watch out.
Cocktober, man. Cocktober.
Nothing beats it.
Keep that Cocktober out of that cat there. But Will Stein was asked the question, hey, what's going to happen? How are you going to win big football games at Kentucky? And I'll give him credit for the answer. The answer he gave, because of me. I'm the reason we're going to go win these big football games here in Lexington, Kentucky, a place that maybe doesn't necessarily have the pedigree to go win those big football games on a down-in and down-out basis.
Sounds like a big high-risk, high-reward kind of quote from Will Stein. If things work out, he will, in fact, be the reason that they win. But if Kentucky starts off slow this year and can't get momentum going, I would not at all be surprised if we are reminded of that quote as Kentucky wraps up a 4-8 3-9, maybe a 5-7 kind of year.
Well, Youngstown State, I expect them to handle their business there at 1 o'clock on September the 5th on the SEC Network Plus. But it's week 2 where that quote's really going to start to come into play when you host the Alabama Crimson Tide at 2:30 Central Time on ABC. That's going to be where that quote's going to resurface and maybe either make you look like a genius or you're going to look like an idiot.
I would heavily assume Will Stein is really hoping that we call him a genius after that game. I wish that the timing had worked out a little better because much like you've talked about this a lot leading up to media days, getting to talk to Will Stein, although we didn't get the chance. What are his thoughts about his first real football game as a Kentucky head coach being against the Alabama Crimson Tide? How does he feel about that?
Yeah.
We don't know, but we'll find out closer we get to that football game. I'm really excited to hear what he has to say about, like I said, his first real test as an SEC head coach coming against the crown jewel of the conference.
The University of Alabama. Sorry, I don't want to take that from Ohio State. But, hey, by the way, your second game of the season, your second conference game of the year. All right, we gave you Alabama.
We're sorry.
Sorry about that, guys. That was kind of a jerk move from us here at the SEC office. So, okay, all right, the next SEC game, your second SEC opponent, hey, take your happy tail down to College Station. Go play Marcel Reed in Texas A&M. Go play Isaiah Horton, Mario Craver, Ashton Bethel Roman, Reuben Owens, all led by Mike Elko, the reigning, or a coach who's done a lot of really good stuff in College Station in such a very, very short amount of time.
Including what is sure to be now a runaway first place finish in this year's high school recruiting rankings.
You would
in the
think.
Class of 2027.
You would think, but you never know nowadays. Whitman, another thing about here, since we now are venturing into the state of Texas, we don't hear from anybody in the state of Texas for another, 2-3 days here?
2 or 3 days. I will have a look. I know that Texas closes things on Thursday.
Yeah, we know Texas closes things on Thursday.
See.
I want to say Texas A&M is Wednesday after Alabama.
No, Texas A&M, Mike Elko will kick things off at 2:55 Eastern Time. So 3 o'clock Eastern Time on Wednesday.
So we're not going to hear from anybody from the state of Texas over the next
day and tomorrow.
36-ish hours here.
There we go.
However, Whitman, I've been conducting a little experiment, talking with different reporters in and around Tampa, Florida here. Went out to my buddy Chris Marler at at LouisianaSports.net. Went and talked with some guys at 97.7 ESPN, The Zone up in Huntsville, Alabama. Went around and talked with some guys in and around the facilities here. Whitman, do you know who these people are going to be voting as the lead in the SEC, as the team that's going to win the Southeastern Conference?
No, I do not.
I think if I asked probably 20 guys, I got about 18 answers that said Texas.
Fair enough.
18 out of the 20 media members that I've talked to so far, granted this is so far, but 18 of the 22 that I've talked to, or 20, have all said, hey, it's them Horns. It's the Texas Longhorns that are going to be hoisting that SEC championship trophy. So, Whitman, why are we even here? Why are we even playing this season out, right? I mean, hell, I think we've crowned Texas each of the last 3 seasons.
I think Texas has shown us over the last couple years why you play the games. Football games are not decided on these, i.e. pieces of paper.
Or on this, where I like to run my little simulations.
They are not decided on computers. They are not decided through analytical metrics.
Yeah.
They are decided between these really thick white lines that go 120 yards each way with 10 yards on each side cut off where you score, what we know as the football field. These games have to be played on a football field. That, in my opinion, Wyatt, is my favorite part about football, is that the games actually have to be played on the field.
That's a lot of fun.
Well, we deserve games being played on the field because every year it feels like the offseason gets longer and longer and longer. And this being my full offseason as a true media member, I don't think I've ever waited around this long for a football season to get started. It felt like the last time Alabama played, I was 10 years old. Now I'm 21.
It's been a really long offseason here in the
yes, it has.
SEC, the world of college football, the way we like to cover things here. We talk college football 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, 52 weeks out of the year. But It's a hell of a lot easier to do it when we can go, all right, Monday we're reacting to the games. Tuesdays, winners and losers. Wednesday, we got to find something to talk about. But Thursday, we're doing game picks. Friday, we're doing game previews. And Saturday, we're off and running, having fun on a Saturday afternoon in the Southeast.
There is nothing that fired me up, Wyatt, quite like pulling into the station on a Friday afternoon, getting ready to talk about the 3 or 4. We normally try to find 3 or 4 of the biggest games in the country.
Yeah.
Tell the people why A will win, why B will win, what B needs to do to get over the hump of A, vice versa for A towards B. There's so much excitement in those 5 days. I mean, I'd rather take a good October Thursday, where I get to talk about who's going to win and who's going to lose with you, than a great Friday in July. Now, I'm a sucker for a Friday in July. I'm not a sucker for going to bed Friday night and not waking up to Pat McAfee trying his absolute hardest to blow my eardrums out on Saturday morning.
As a good friend of mine once said, he even named a song after it. It would be one Mr. Jimmy Buffett. Nobody works on Friday. We don't like to work on Fridays around here because we're getting ready for Saturdays because of what Saturdays mean in the fall in the Southeastern Conference here. So we'll go ahead and take our last time out here. We'll go ahead and head into the fourth quarter of the Monday edition of the Deep South College Football Show. What do we want to hear from the Tennessee Volunteers, who I think Mr. Josh Heupel is going to start here in about 10 minutes. So we'll go ahead and get wrapped up here on the Deep South College Football Show. We'll go ahead and take our last time out, come back. What do we want to see from Josh Heupel? And then we'll
take care of any problems you got with a damp crawl space or a crack in your foundation. They even do pest control and lawn care. Full service, Alabama Professional Services at alabamaprofessional.com.
What does it mean to advertise and do your marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa? Melissa started her business in 2014. What would you say to someone considering Town Square Media Tuscaloosa?
My experience with Town Square Media has been awesome, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I think that this is the first time in my marketing experience that I've been able to see my return on investment. I would definitely say in the past that has not been the case. In this, I like knowing that that's 100%. A lot of the marketing we've done has been radio. You guys have so much more to offer than that, whether it's, websites, from targeted marketing to radio. You are kind of a one-stop shop, and it makes doing marketing so much easier. So I would definitely recommend it.
For more info on marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa, call 205-345-7200 or click on Advertise with Us on our website.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Here's your Tuscaloosa and West Alabama forecast. We're going to stay dangerously hot here through midweek. Not much in the way of any effects from Bertha. All that moisture will stay down closer to the Gulf Coast. Sunny, hot here today, 96. Heat index values around 107. A slight chance of storms this afternoon and this evening. Partly cloudy, muggy tonight, 76. Oppressive heat, no relief tomorrow. Sunshine, 97 both Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm meteorologist Richard DeWetting for Town Square Media Tuscaloosa.
It's 93 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Find Tide on Twitter at Tide109 to keep up with show announcements, guests, and our reporters in the field.
welcome back into the Deep South College Football Show. Sorry for the YouTube page there. I absolutely just hit the wrong button there. There we go. SEC Media Days kickoff 2026. Live from Tampa, Florida here. We got about 11-ish minutes. No, about 9 minutes left in the program here because we do have to get out. We do have to get out of here in time for the game with Ryan Fowler, who, by the way, is down here in Tampa with us. I'm sure we'll talk with Ryan here a little bit later this week. Maybe have him jump on the program here because I know he does a lot of good stuff here covering the University of Alabama. Regardless, though, Josh Heupel and the Tennessee Volunteers, they're coming up here in the next 5 to 10 minutes here.
Josh Heupel will take the stage as we are clearing up.
Yeah, as we are getting ready to depart day one of SEC Media Days at the table. Josh Heupel will be getting started here in the big media room here. Just literally, I'm staring at the doors of Salon F, which is where we will have to go in order to enter for Mr. Heupel and the Tennessee Volunteers. So with that, what do we want to hear from Josh Heupel in Tennessee? Because it feels like we could go a lot of different ways with the Volunteers here this afternoon.
I have a question for him that I plan on asking, and hopefully he'll give me an answer worth writing a story about, Wyatt. I want to see how his likely starter, Faison Brandon, is holding up in what is surely a complex Josh Heupel offense. You know, you hear a lot about the premier offenses throughout the sport at both the collegiate and pro level. One thing that you hear about them, they're very complex. They're very intricate. You think about Sean McVay in Los Angeles or Andy Reid in Kansas City. Down in the collegiate level, you've got the offenses run by guys like Steve Sarkisian out of Texas, Lane Kiffin out of LSU, Josh Heupel out of Tennessee. The common denominator in all those high-powered offenses, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to try to process, and there's a lot to deal with if you want to thrive in that system as a quarterback.
Yes.
And what it sounds to me like is they're going to push out a true freshman in week 1 over Brandon McIntyre. I'm really
George McIntyre.
George McIntyre. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Josh Heupel feels about his true freshman quarterback, and if we can gauge whether or not Heupel internally thinks that it will be Faison Brandon who takes the first snap of the regular season.
I am really, really excited to see both these guys here. I mean, the Tennessee quarterback battle has been a lot of fun to keep track of, even from a distance here, because we are not based in Knoxville. We're based in Tuscaloosa, and I know a lot of people don't want us to talk about Tennessee in our regular listening audience of Tuscaloosa, but they opened the season against Furman. I would anticipate seeing both these quarterbacks, at least from my perspective, the way that I've seen quarterback battles handled in Tuscaloosa and neighboring SEC schools. I would more than likely probably see two quarterbacks here in that first game of the season. Not in anything where it's like, all right, George McIntyre, you got the first series. All right, Brandon Faison, you've got the second series. It's probably more going to be, hey, George
First half,
McIntyre.
second half, quarter by quarter.
Probably not even that. It'll just be, hey, George McIntyre, we're going to give you 3 or 4 series, probably 3 if you're really struggling, 4 if you're cooking with gas. And then Faison Brandon, hey, we're going to come out, we're going to give you the next 3 to 4 series. And then from there, we're going to kind of start to figure out who's going to be our starter, probably give the next guy every possession in the third quarter, and then give the other guy, every possession in the fourth quarter, just to kind of wrap things up. And then going into that week 2 game, going to Atlanta against Georgia Tech, that's when you figure out, okay, who is our starting quarterback? Because 7 p.m. in Bobby Dodd Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, after the season the Yellow Jackets had last season.
They're going to be looking for a big one, Wyatt.
Yeah, that's going to be a big-time football game there for the Tennessee Volunteers here. I am also really interested in talking about this Tennessee defense here, because they bring in Jim Knowles, who was the defensive coordinator at Penn State for part of last season before he got fired, and then was the defensive coordinator at Ohio State the season before that in 2024.
When they won a national championship.
So a national championship winning defensive coordinator here, and then he turns around less than a season later after. This timeline is so wild when you think about it. All right, 2024, he's the defensive coordinator at Ohio State, wins the national championship. 2025, he leaves Ohio State, becomes the highest paid defensive coordinator in the sport. And about 7 months later, he's fired alongside James Franklin, the rest of James Franklin and his staff there in Happy Valley. A couple of months after that, he then becomes the defensive coordinator at Tennessee, which is a very, very, very complex offensive style of ball. They've been really, really dialed in on the offense, even though despite, 2024, they really had to rely on their defense to win them some football games because, no disrespect, Nico Iamaleava maybe wasn't the quarterback that we expected Nico Iamaleava to be after the 2023 season that he had.
Let it be known.
Or not had. What we saw early in that season.
I am very happy that every opinion I ever had of Nico Iamaleava was never put on social media.
Nico, I am a-leaving ya. That's what he told Tennessee. But regardless here, I really liked what Joey Aguilar brought to the table for Tennessee last season. Now you've got another quarterback in there. Can you play complementary football? That's the biggest question across the sport outside of, hey, can you block on defense? Can you block a defense? Can your offensive line play? So outside of the biggest question in the sport being, is my offensive line good? The second biggest question is, can I play complementary football and take a little bit of pressure off my offense, especially when my offense is going to have a potentially true freshman quarterback, or even if it's not a true freshman, George McIntyre doesn't have very many reps either. So you're, regardless, coming into this season, if you're Tennessee, with a brand new starting quarterback who does not have a lot of reps under his belt.
Very similar to the Alabama situation. Although Austin Mack is not a freshman like Keelan Russell, it will be his first ever college start if he is named the week 1 starter, the same way that it will be Keelan Russell's first college start if named the starting quarterback. Sorry if you heard that noise. Our boy Roman Harper just...
Yeah, what the hell has Roman got going on over there? He's in a suit. number one. We got a cigar. Does he have a cane, or is that a golf club? Or
It
what is
looked
that?
like a walking stick, but he does have a cigar in his mouth. Of course, with Tennessee getting ready to kick their media days off, we know the former Crimson Tide defensive standout is looking to maybe rub it in a little bit that the cigar smoking Bryant Denny was colored crimson.
That was
this past
interesting.
year.
All right. That was Roman Harper was hanging out down that way there. So, but regardless, we appreciate everybody who's allowed us to get to SEC Media Days, talk about SEC Media Days. As always, Pearl River, they do an incredible job with us. I think if you've followed my coverage for the last any sort of amount of time, you know that Pearl River's done a really good job of helping me be able to travel across the SEC, across the country. They helped me get to California for the Rose Bowl, and I greatly, greatly appreciate them for allowing us to do that. Because, Whitman, I don't know about you, but even though it's been kind of hectic and crazy, and we're heading here and we're going there, and all right, now it's raining, now it's not raining, the internet's not working, the parking situation is a little bit odd, it's humid as all get out in Florida. It's been a lot of fun through the first 24 hours of SEC Media Days.
Name any other place on earth not named Augusta National Golf Club. I don't think there's anywhere else I'd rather be right now than in the heart of football, in the heart of SEC football, in the hearts of America right now, because that's all everybody wants to see. They just want to go watch Alabama. They want to go watch Georgia. They want to go watch the Texas Longhorns, play some football, have some fun, and give us something to cheer about again.
At the end of every day, we do love to get to talk a little bit of SEC football, so big thank you to our sponsors, including Taco Casa. They do an incredible job of helping us get around the SEC, and we greatly, greatly appreciate them. Coming up next here on the radio side of things is going to be The Game with Ryan Fowler from 2 until 6 p.m. Central Time. Now, Ryan, you do know that means you're 3 until 7 Eastern Time here where we are, right? It's going to be weird, according to Ryan Fowler. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We appreciate